Need to convert your FastAPI endpoints into MCP components with precise control over how each route behaves. You'll see how to use custom route mapping to transform GET endpoints into resources, path param routes into templates, and preserve your post-PUT delete operations as tools, all while keeping your existing API intact. This pattern gives you fine-grained control over the MCP interface without rewriting your FastAPI logic.
Hash assumes the FastAPI app from above is already defined. From FastMCP, import FastMCP. From FastMCP server, OpenAPI import RouteMap, MCPType. Hash if using experimental parser, import from experimental module. Hash from FastMCP, experimental server, OpenAPI import RouteMap, MCPType. Hash custom mapping rules. MCP equals FastMCP from FastAPI. App equals app. RouteMaps equals. Hash get with path params right arrow resource templates. RouteMap. Methods equals get. Pattern equals R. Asterisk // asterisk /. MCPType equals MCPType. Resource template. Hash other gets right arrow resources. RouteMap. Methods equals get. Pattern equals R. MCPType equals MCPType. Resource. Hash post put delete right arrow tools. Default. Hash now. Hash get products resource. Hash get /products /ad. Resource template. Hash post put delete right arrow tools.
This demonstrates the route classification pattern for API to MCP transformation. The concept involves categorizing HTTP endpoints into distinct MCP component types based on their method and path structure, rather than treating all endpoints uniformly. What makes this distinctive is its ability to bridge REST conventions with MCP's resource-oriented model through declarative mapping rules. The pattern works by applying hierarchical classification rules that evaluate endpoints against method-specific patterns. Get endpoints with path parameters become resource templates, simple gets become resources, and mutative methods default to tools. This separation of concerns lets you maintain REST semantics while exposing an LLM-optimized interface, where resources represent data entities and tools represent actions. This approach matters because it solves the impedance mismatch between traditional APIs and MCP's component model. Without custom mapping, auto-converted APIs often expose every endpoint as a generic tool, creating a flat, undifferentiated interface. The route classification pattern preserves your API's natural structure while making it more intuitive for LLM clients, particularly when dealing with resource collections versus individual items. The trade-off is additional upfront configuration, but the result is a more maintainable and semantically meaningful MCP interface. Let's break it down.
Hash assumes the FastAPI app from above is already defined.
This establishes the prerequisite that a FastAPI application instance named app must already exist in the current scope. It prevents undefined reference errors and ensures the subsequent FastMCP from FastAPI call has a valid FastAPI app to analyze for route mapping.
From FastMCP, import FastMCP. From FastMCP server, OpenAPI import RouteMap, MCPType.
Imports FastMCP for creating AI-callable tools and RouteMap, MCPType for custom route-to-tool mapping. These are the core components that transform FastAPI endpoints into structured AI tools, with RouteMap defining how HTTP routes map to different MCP types like resources or templates.
Hash if using experimental parser, import from experimental module. Hash from FastMCP, experimental server, OpenAPI import RouteMap, MCPType.
This commented import shows the alternative path for experimental features. FastMCP maintains a separate experimental module for unstable APIs, letting you opt into cutting-edge functionality while keeping the stable API clean. Use this when you need access to unreleased parser improvements.
MCP equals FastMCP from FastAPI. App equals app.
This initializes FastMCP by extracting routes from an existing FastAPI app. It creates a bridge between your API endpoints and AI callable tools, preserving all existing route definitions while enabling MCP functionality.
Hash now. Hash get products resource.
This demonstrates the route mapping in action. The rule matches get requests without path parameters, classifying them as resources. This distinction enables AI models to handle collection endpoints differently from single-item lookups. Route mapping patterns. FastMCP's route maps transform HTTP semantics into AI callable components, where regex patterns and HTTP methods determine whether endpoints become resources, ResourceTemplates, or tools. The order of route maps matters, as the first match wins and subsequent rules are ignored for that route. Always test your patterns with edge cases, as overly greedy regex can accidentally capture unintended routes.
The route that knows no name becomes every name.